Good grand day, Gems and Jewels. How are you? Welcome to the room. I am your host, Corinthia Peoples, and this is Power in My Pivot. Here on Power in My Pivot, we discuss how extraordinary people become extraordinary through the power in pivoting. Today on our show, we will have an intimate interview with the illustrious Lisa Mosley, who will share intimate details of her overcoming and how she has reached power, passion, and perseverance through the power in her pivot. Again, welcome to Power in My Pivot. Yes.
Hey, Corinthia.
How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm doing well, Corinthia. I am doing well. I am doing well.
You look well.
I am. I'm recovering, reflecting, resting, doing all of those things that we should do for ourselves to make sure that we are at our peak at all times.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, Lisa. I'm so glad to have you on the show.
I'm glad to be here, Corinthia. I'm really glad to be here. You know how much I love you and how much I admire you. And so for you to ask me to come on is it's an honor for me. So thank you.
Ditto. Ditto that. Ditto that. Reflection.
For sure. For sure.
I want to take a moment and tell our viewers about Power in My Pivot. Power in My Pivot is a discussion and an unfoldment, if you will, on how along our journeys we've had to pivot, whether it's been voluntarily, circumstantially, or out of sheer survival. And it's a talk of our soul's journey and our evolution of who we are, right? So welcome to the room, good people. Welcome to the room. I'm so glad you're here. If you want to say hello to us, welcome. This is a inter-participatory dialogue. So feel free to drop comments in to the chat. We'll see them. Lisa will see them. I will see them.
Yeah.
So without any further ado, our sister Lisa Mosley and our guest. I'm going to give you a little bit of bio about Lisa. And please, at this time, you guys, it would be awesome to put a thumbs up, just gently, nicely, click that button. And if you would like to share, that would be awesome as well. So I want to share your bio, Lisa. Is that okay?
Okay, okay. I want to hear what you have to say. Let me tell you something. I'm always intrigued when people read my bio or they tell, because we know our story, but it's interesting to hear somebody else tell about their perspective of us. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Okay, well, bums off we go. Lisa has served on former Barack Obama's campaign as an organizer and regional field director. Lisa has also served with Senator Bernie Sanders on his presidential campaign as a media constituency strategist. She has also, the most impressive, Lisa, that I feel, is that Lisa is committed, you are committed to ensuring that women raise their voices, not just in their private sectors, community, and organizations, but also fill the spaces of elected public offices for women. You support that. And for people that know Lisa, you're about to be reintroduced to Lisa Mosley, honey. Lisa has a blog entitled Eat My Dessert first. You can find that blog in her content that she has written at eatmydessertfirst.com. She has written about self-worth, self-love for over 10 years. And honey, she is not turning back now. Am I correct, Lisa? How was that? How
I
was
know.
that bio intro?
For sure. I'm not turning back at all. There's only one way to go, and that's forward for me, especially in this time.
Yes. Yes. That's the message moving forward, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that is the message. So I'm going to start with my first question for you, Lisa, because we're going to respect the viewers' times, and we know it's a
Okay.
Saturday morning, so we want to give them their dose of inspiration and send them about their day, and we're going to have them come back on next
Okay.
Saturday to talk about that.
Okay.
So, Lisa, you have had such an impressive life and such prestigious positions. What is ordinary and common about Lisa Mosley? You know, in the content of what connects you and make you connectable and reliable for other women and girls who are just feeling just really common. What is that for you?
You
What?
know, initially when I heard that question, my initial response was, "Honey, there's nothing common about me. There's nothing ordinary about me." I mean, from the way I walk into a room, my presence, all of those things. But as I thought about what the definition of common means, shared goals, shared thoughts, things that you have that are shared with other people. And when I think about women, I share the same insecurities, the same fears, the same thoughts, the same desires, and the same hopes for women that we will one day we can take our rightful place and that we will be respected. I am called to women. If you ever read my work that I do, and I have written an ebook called Daily Desserts, Inspiration to Inspire Self-Love. And so that's also on the website. And I encourage you all to go and download that ebook because it just gives you some really things to meditate on, things like self-worth, things like dreaming, things about knowing who you are, understanding your power, all of those things. And so when I think about the word common, women, we all want to feel special. We all want to feel significant. And I am the same. I feel the same way. You know, I cry. I have insecurities. I have fears sometimes. And sometimes I feel like maybe I'm not the best person for this job, especially in the field that I've been in. You know, I've worked on 4 presidential campaigns, most recently served as Bernie Sanders' state political director for his 2020 campaign. You know, I've been in the presence of elected presidents. I've been in the presence of elected officials, high level officials. You know, I can pull up my cell phone right now and dial up some high level elected officials in this state and other places. But that's not the most important thing to me. You know, the most important thing to me is being able to connect with women and girls right here in my own neighborhood, in my own city, in my own household. Because when it's all said and done, I want women to know that I'm no different from you. You know what I mean, Corinthian? I'm no different. The same fears and desires that you have, I have them too. You know, it may look different, but yeah, I have the same desires and same things that other women have.
So, you know, it takes a certain amount of inner self-reflection to get to some of those spaces that you've just described, you being privileged to have had to be in, right?
Right. Yeah.
And there takes an amount of self-confidence and self-love to be in a room with such accomplished people.
Yeah.
So, which brings me to my next question, because you said that you've had this, there's nothing common about you, and you've had this way of being for a long time. This is who you are. So, when did you, Lisa? When did you tap into your own self-worth? And do you feel self-worth is a destination? Like once you got it, or is it like never ending, like always a work? What's your thoughts about that?
Let me explain what I mean by self-worth. because I think we hear self-esteem and self-worth and we think they're synonymous. And though they're similar, they're very different. Self-worth is what is innate in you. It is not, it does not come from anything external. It does not come from the title you hold, from the job you have, the car you drive, the place you live. It is internal. You are born with it.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is we live in a world that tells us we have to be doing something all the time. We have placed more value on what we do than who we are.
Mm.
Just being, there is no value in our being. There's only value in this country in what we do. And so we start to think our self-worth is contingent upon all the things that we've accumulated. And that's not it. You know why that's not where our self-worth should come from? Because those things can disappear at any moment. They
Yeah.
can disappear at any moment. You can lose the house, you can lose the car, you can lose the boyfriend or the girlfriend, you can lose those things. And if your self-worth is built on that, then you have no self-worth. But when your self-worth is built on knowing that innately that you are divine, that you are powerful, that you are here for a purpose and a reason, nothing, no matter what happens to you in life, you're always going to have a strong sense of self-worth.
So,
I
Lisa, being that we are in a society that values the things, the doing, and not the being. And Lord knows, I've heard this like 3 times this week, being versus doing.
Mhm.
How do you separate the job, the career, the car, the house, the stuff from
I separated because I know it's not who I am. It's just stuff that you need to get through life. And I don't have any attachment to it. And because I know that that's not where my value is, I could lose that. I've lost the marriage, I've lost the house, I've been evicted a few times. But I can still hold my head up and I can still go about my day. And don't get me wrong, those things were painful. They were very painful, very painful. I mean, to the point where going through that stuff, that's a Corinthia.
Yes.
You want to talk about a breakdown?
Yes.
I've had them.
Yes.
But also, there's always
the sofa too. Baby.
It's in the book. It's in the book. But always knowing that I am always going to have my mind. I'm always going to have my strategies. I'm always going to have my purpose. That's with me no matter what happens externally. And when you know how valuable you are and that what you have to say and what you have to do, the world needs, I know the world needs what I have to say. I know those presidents that I worked for needed what I had to say. I know those campaigns needed what I had to say. There is no one that looks like me in this state that does what I do. Nobody. And
I apologize, Lisa. I just want to add, so you said that they needed to know. So a lot of times our voices, whether we were grown up with being ignored or whether we're hanging in a circle of people that don't respect and value our voice, how did you hone in on your voice? What was it that connected you to your voice where you knew it needed to be spoken and you needed to be heard?
I'm going to share a story with you. I've done quite a few things in my life as far as careers. I was a sales director for a very popular cosmetics company. And I was always called on to speak to other sales units. And it's, even then, you still don't always realize why are people calling me? Because I still hadn't realized and recognized that you have something that people want to hear. This is part of my story, Corinthia, when you're going to ask me about when did I have to pivot? I was a sales director. I was giving just a little a speech, I guess, to a unit one night. And there were some guests there, some women that I had not met. Mm-hmm. And I'm always on my encouragement thing. I'm always telling women, don't let anybody stop you. You're valuable. I'm always on the self-worth thing. Yeah. Well, I never saw those ladies again. One time, Corinthia, when you asked me the question about when I had to pivot and what was the point in my life, and I talked about leaving my marriage, I got into a fight with my now ex-husband, and I was arrested. This is why I'm such an advocate for women in domestic violence. Police came, I was arrested, taken
Hmm.
to jail.
Hmm.
But let me tell you what happens. I'm in there in jail cell. They come and get me out to book for my booking photo.
Yes.
And this I'm going to answer a question about when I knew my voice. I'm
Okay.
sitting there, I'm bruised, I'm crying, my hair is just mad, and I'm kind of tearing up about this story now
Mm-hmm.
because I've never talked about this publicly.
Mm.
I'm sitting there, and they're not very nice to you in jail.
Right.
So I'm sitting there. They give you this funky old stinky shirt to put on and take a picture.
Yeah.
And the girl is taking my pictures, and she tells me to turn. She asked me a question, and I answer her question. And I tell you, she stopped dead in her tracks. She looked at me. She said, "I know you." And
What?
I'm going.
She was one of the girls that you spoke to.
She was one of the girls at that Mary Kay sales meeting. She said, "Ever since you spoke to me," she said, she left her bad relationship. She said, "I have not looked back." She said, "Thank you." And it was at that point that I realized the value of my voice. I never liked how I sounded. I never liked my voice. She said, "I remember you." She said, "I remember your voice."
Mm.
And you know what? It was just beautiful from there, the whole experience. And it made it worth it for me because months ago I had talked to that girl. And here I am in a horrible situation. And here's a woman telling me that something I said to her,
Caused her to
something I said, caused her to pivot.
Lisa, was this prior to you beginning to do political work?
This was all prior to me doing political work. You know, this was way back in 2007.
So
Yes.
that story is a direct example of you finding your voice.
That story is a result. Yes, absolutely. But where I am today is a result of that story.
Yeah,
And hopefully we have time to talk about that. Where I am, where I stand today is a result of that story.
as a result of that story. I
Mhm.
love it, Lisa. It's interesting how trials and tribulation pulls out the best in us for those who believe. And for those who have just a glimmer of hope, and for those who just some kind of way know that we were put here for a purpose and a reason, not to just take up space,
Mm-mm.
not to just take up space, but to
Mm-mm.
actually emote and do it and put it on
Absolutely.
put our train on the track. Put our
Absolutely.
train on the track. So it brings me to my next question, Lisa. Thank you for sharing that with me. I really appreciate that. And thank you for having the courage because that took courage.
Yeah, I don't tell that part of the story.
Yeah, no, that takes courage. And you know what? When it's time to tell that part of the story, even more healing happens. So
But
you
it's time.
pivoting, you're pivoting. Even is you pivoting, Lisa? Just you are right. We all
Hmm.
are. We all are. So, Lisa, what was since you brought up the question? What was a pivotal choice in your life? And now looking back, looking back, um, that it made you the woman that you are today.
Well, that story that I just told was that point, that pivot. And it was the decision to leave my marriage. Now, I had a storybook marriage. Had the husband, the four kids, going to church together, doing all of these things, but no one understood. No one knew the hell that I was going through in my home. And when you start to change yourself to accommodate a relationship or accommodate something else, a job or whatever, when you start to diminish your own light, it becomes a problem. I recognize that I was doing that. I recognize that I was not shining. I recognize that I was not walking the path that had been laid out for me because I was married to a man who didn't want me to do that. And because I was in the church and that whole submission thing, I was doing that. And so I became this person that I was not. And it ate at me every day. And then being in this relationship that was abusive. It was never physically abusive because my husband never laid a hand on me except that one time I went to jail. That's another story, but it wasn't abusive, but it was emotionally, psychologically, it was all of those things. And I decided I did not want to be anymore. And it was physical for my children. I went to my pastor, I went to my church, I went to do all those steps, and they said, you just need to pray. One of them told me, you just need to submit. I was done. So I made plans and I decided to leave my marriage. That story I just told you about going to jail, that was when that came to a head because, of course, they don't want you to leave. Fast forward, another decision in that I made, I decided this opportunity presented itself to work on this campaign. I had to leave my children in California with my parents, and I came to Las Vegas, Nevada alone. I didn't know anyone. And it was a hard decision. People say, you're leaving your kids? Yes, because I'm going to make a better life for my kids. I was so focused on my kids' future and what I was creating for them. That was more important to me than that present moment. They were in good hands with my parents. So I left them in California. I came to Las Vegas. I worked on that Obama campaign. I set up a family. I set up a home here. And eventually I brought my kids here. I networked. I started my own company managing political campaigns, but specializing in female candidates because I recognized that women needed something when they're running for office that men didn't necessarily need. That was confidence. That was someone believing in them. So I set my company up and I did that. And I've worked on several women's campaigns. And y'all know we have a majority female legislature. Well, guess what? I worked on one of those campaigns. I've mentored some of those women that are in there. I've trained some of those women that are in the state legislature right now. And so just building that career, but I wouldn't have done that, Corinthia, had I not left that marriage, left that church, and left and made that pivot. And I made that pivot because I knew I was not walking the path that was laid out for me. I've always known what I'm supposed to be doing. I've always known that I would be talking to women and I was called to women. And I wasn't doing that because I was outshining my then husband. And the church said, as a wife, you should support your husband's dreams. And I heard all these stories about women putting their dreams on hold to support their husband. That just didn't sit well with me. Somebody like me, if you want to do that, I support you. That's not who I was. And I knew that there were women out there who needed to hear what I had to say. And as long as I was staying in that place, they weren't going to hear it. They weren't going to hear it.
As long as you were in that situation. So you had to pivot in order to help this. It was bigger than you.
It was much bigger than me. And let me tell you, when I left Corinthia, that man told me we had one house. We were in the process of buying a second one. We were both officers at the time. He told me, if you want to leave, go. You're not getting either one of these houses. You're not getting any of this money we have in the bank. You're not getting nothing. When I tell you I left with just some clothes, I threw some clothes in the car. I left my kids. And I got on the road and I left. I had nothing.
It's interesting how we as women, we give all of us, we give our bodies, we give our mind, our time, our everything. And I'm drying your tears right now.
I'm surprised I'm crying. I don't like to cry. I don't usually cry. And I have my very best friend, Sandra D, and I think she's listening. Yeah. She had already gone through this process, of finding enlightenment in her spirituality. So when I was leaving the church, she was such a huge help for me. You all, women, find you some sisters that believe in you and that will hold your hand and who've already gone through what you're going through. Because my BFF told me, she said, girl, you're going to get on the other side of this. And one of my biggest fears when leaving the church was like, what if I'm not doing what God wants me to do? She said, honey, you wouldn't be here if God didn't want you to do it. That's all I needed to hear. She said that to me. And she's walked this journey with me and held my hand, and we've held each other's hands. So I'm saying that to say, you need support. You need women around you. I had male friends who were helpful, but you need the support of women because we know what it feels like. In many cases, some of us have gone through it. So I wanted to shout out my BFF.
Yes. We need BFFs.
Yes, we do.
We need BFFs, Lisa. Wow. You got a few comments. Crying is cleansing, Lisa.
I'm
Thank you for
sorry.
sharing.
Sorry for calling y'all.
Like, thank you for sharing, Catherine. Thank you, Catherine, for being in the room. Zandra, crying is cleansing. Such a
Oh,
powerful journey of strength, courage, and truth. Sandra, thank you, Sandra. Powerful, Crystal. Yes,
I wish I could see the ladies.
they can see you and you're talking to them right
Okay.
now. So, Lisa, I want to ask you our next question. This is very powerful, and this is why I have subscribed and said, okay, use me for the
Mhm.
good. You know, it's because of journey, the pivot, the power in it. And you, honey, you have talked about your power and your pivot eloquently, so eloquently, and so authentically. And that's what I need in my life. Authenticity. It just cannot happen without authenticity. So do you feel, Lisa, that we have become a society that defaults to acquiescing, going along to get along and accepting wrongs during and dysfunction without any protest? Do you think we've come to that, and why do you think we've come to that?
You know, going back to what I say about knowing your value and knowing your worth and trusting that you are here for such a greater purpose. And I know that sounds cliche because we hear that all the time, right? Oh, just know your purpose. But there is such value in that. And when you do that, yes, do I think we acquiesce? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've seen people in the workplace who have something to say. Remember when you were a kid or in classroom or you're at work at the boardroom at the table and you have something to say and it's burning. You know you should say it, but you don't raise your hand and you don't say it. You
Mhm.
know why we don't say it?
It's like the
Because we
elephant.
don't. Absolutely. We acquiesce to what everybody else says we should do, but we know we should do something different because we don't trust the spirit in us. We don't trust that what we are hearing is valuable. We don't trust that it's the right thing to do. Sometimes we've been taught to trust other people more than we've been taught to trust ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yes, we absolutely acquiesce. And we got to stop doing that. We've got to start trusting that we have the answer. We got to start trusting that what we have to say is valuable and is worthy and that other people need to hear it and that it's helpful. So yes, we acquiesce, but we got to stop doing that. Just trust yourself, trust the spirit in you, trust that God has given you a spirit of enlightenment, a spirit of knowing, and that nobody's any different from you. What these other folks are saying around here, that's not necessarily the truth. You have your truth. And yes, speak out and stop acquiescing to what other people tell you should be right and what is the right thing to do. Absolutely.
I totally agree. So can you speak to being blacklisted? Because a lot of times what society has done is made examples of people who have not acquiesced and who spoke the truth. Even it was the truth. And even if 5 people in the room agreed with them that it was truthful and thanked the person that had the courage to say it,
Mhm.
but that person was made an example out of. So the others could never ever acquiesce, will continue to acquiesce. Can you speak to that about being made an example of and being blacklisted?
In 2016, after I worked on the Bernie Sanders campaign, I got a call from some candidates here in Nevada. They knew my work. They knew my work with women. And there was a particular candidate that they wanted me to work with. She was running for office for the first time, and she had a particular personality that they thought would work well with me. I said yes. I met her, liked her, said yes.
Mhm.
I get a call from the person who hired me a few days later and said, I have to take the offer back. I said, oh, wow, really? She said, when folks found out we were hiring you, she said, I got 3 calls telling me we should not hire you and tell you why. 1, you were a Bernie Sanders supporter. 2, you're radical. 3, you're friends with someone else that they considered a problem. But honey, let me tell you, when you know your purpose and you walk in that and you've built relationships, there's people cannot take your stuff away. Don't ever, nobody has the power to. The only person that has the power to take your destiny away is you. I got on the phone. I called up a few people and told them the situation. That girl called me back the next day and says, I don't know who you know. I don't know who you call. She said, but we're going to hire you. I worked on that woman's campaign twice and would have done her campaign this year. She has become a trusted friend of mine, and she trusts me. So I say that to say this. Yes, I have. When you do something different that's outside of the norm, and when you decide you're not going to walk the line that everybody else is walking and you're vocal about it and you're not ashamed of what you have to say, people are going to try to blacklist you. They're going to call you radical. They may call you trouble because you do not subscribe to what they subscribe to. It don't matter. Do not acquiesce. Do not give in. Stand in what you know is your truth and stand in what you know your purpose is. I have built a phenomenal career in this world of politics, not because certain people wanted me to, the status quo wanted me to, but because it's what I was designed to do, and it's what's in me. And when God opens doors, honey, nobody can close those doors. So just always know that human beings will try to close the door for you because they think that's where their power comes from. But you can go to sleep at night in peace, knowing that you are in alignment with the divine, and there is nothing that any man can do to take you off your path or to close the doors that God has opened for you.
That's right. There's a scripture, I believe, that says, what is yours, no man can take.
No man, no man. I don't fear man. I don't fear man
But the thing
at
is,
all.
what you just said is to persevere.
Absolutely.
So,
And don't change. Know your purpose. This is why it's important to know your purpose. I'm not saying sometimes you don't have to compromise. There may be times when you have to do that. But when somebody is trying to close the door, there's a difference in between believing and knowing.
yeah,
Believing leaves room for doubt. But when you know something, when you know that when you reach that door knob to open that door, you know it's gonna open. When you go to sit on that chair, you are not worried about whether that chair is you're gonna sit down because you know. That's the kind of knowing that you have to have in your purpose.
yes.
That's the kind of knowing.
Lisa, what are 3 steps, in your opinion, that someone can do right now where they are to promote a positive self message to themselves, raise themselves, and pivot? What are 3? Give us 3 simple steps to where someone can start right where they are today.
The first thing you can do is turn off the noise from outside. Turn that off. I do daily affirmations, and I know that sounds cliche also, but the first thing, just understand why you're here, who you are, you're divine. Tell yourself every day, I am God having a human experience. I am here for a reason. I am here for a purpose. I am here for greatness. Affirm your greatness in yourself every single day. That's not going to be the easiest thing to do, but do it anyway. And third, stand in your mirror every morning. Stand in your mirror and just say a simple affirmation to yourself. I am here for greatness. I am here for greatness. The more you say that to yourself, the more you're going to believe it over and over and over. I am not what the world says I am. I am who God says I am. And
Yes.
believe that.
Yes. Lisa, I do mirror work a lot.
Yes.
Even if you know how you go to the bathroom when you wake up and you splash the water in your face just so you can get the cup of tea and get going, or go sit and pray and do your thing.
Yes.
Honey, and you glance at yourself in the mirror. I do the mirror work every day, all the time. And I tell myself, I call my name. And I say to my Corinthian peoples, I love you.
Absolutely. That is so hard for some women to do, to look in that mirror and see that beautiful dark skin or that hair or that size or the small breast. We look in that mirror and it's not what the world says it should be. And we just say, I don't like how I look. If I could change this, honey, you are perfect as you are. Look in that mirror every day. If you got to cry, cry, but begin to love the image that's staring back at you. And then the other thing is, go read my blog, eatmydessertfirst.com. I have a post on there that's called The Mirror. Go and search for that post and read it. Okay. It's powerful.
Yes. Search for that post. It's called the blog. The website of Lisa's blog is, Lisa, tell them.
It's www.eatmydessertfirst.com, and first is spelled out. So eatmydessertfirst.com.
FIRST.
If you Google Eat My Dessert First, it'll be the first one it'll be the top of the search.
Beautiful. So we offer health tips, not only to speak about the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also render solutions, right? So we can talk about the problem and how we overcame and the victory, but also render solutions to people that
Yeah.
are still in the muck, still in the mud,
Mm-hmm.
coming up out of it. What is the first thing you do when you wake up every morning, Lisa? What's the
So
first thing you do?
I have developed a morning ritual, and I actually have an acronym for it, RPWM. R is for rise. I wake up. The P is for pee. I get up, I go pee. I go to the bathroom. The W is for water.
Yes, yes, yes.
The W is for water. I keep water next to my bed, and I make sure that I'm drinking a lot of water. And
Yes.
then the M is for meditate. I meditate. Now, that's not always sitting in my meditation space on the floor, but I get my tea, I go sit in my backyard. I listen to the birds, I listen to the all the noises that the birds and animals make. I sit in my backyard and I commune with nature. That's my meditation. That's what aligns me. That's what keeps me grounded, and it keeps me connected. It keeps me connected to the earth. It makes me know that we are all connected, even with the trees and the animals and the birds. Can I just touch on something you said? I heard you say for people who are still in the mud.
Yes.
Can I tell you that there are diamonds in the mud? There are jewels in the mud. We want to get out of the mud so bad that we miss the blessing of being in the
In
mud.
the mud. Yes.
If you're in the mud, yeah,
Yes.
develop a plan to get out of the mud, but understand, honey, there are blessings in
In
the
the
mud,
mud.
because in the mud is where you're going to learn this to try to walk through that mud. You're going to strengthen those muscles. You got to develop a strategy to get out of that mud. So now you got to use your brain to think. On my blog, I write about the challenges and how they come to help us to understand the strengths that we have. They don't come to strengthen you, honey. You strong as you ever going to be. But what they come to do is reveal to you
Your strength.
what's within you. They reveal
Yes.
to you the strength that you have in you. They
Already.
reveal to you that talents that you have and the skills that you have, the ideas, the strategies. We have it all. And we don't even know it until we are in a place where we have to use it.
Speak. And this is a great time. Like right now, we're on
Yes,
down COVID. This is the time to pull up that strength.
absolutely.
Sandra in the chat, I just want you to know what some people are saying. Sandra says, such good tips. Know my work. Shut out the noise and positive affirmation. She's
Yes,
affirming what you said. Crystal says, faith muscle. She says, speak into existence every day.
absolutely.
And Sandra
Absolutely.
affirms, there's blessings in the mud.
There
Yes.
are. There are jewels in that mud, honey. There are jewels there. And get your jewels before don't be so quick to get out of that mud. Get out, stay there though, and look for the jewels that are there. They are there with your name on them.
Awesome. So the health tip for this week is RPWM.
Yes.
Rise, pee, water, meditate, baby.
Yes.
I'm going to
That
say it
will set
again.
you straight. That will get you on a path to have a beautiful day.
I agree. So RPWM
RPWM.
is the health tip for this week. Rise, pee, water, meditate.
That's it.
Yes. Thank you, Lisa, for joining the
Welcome.
show and sharing who you are at a deep level. For sharing here where you've never.
Brittany, I don't know how you sucked this out of me, but you did. I've not told that story publicly. I told you parts of that story that I've never told. So now people know.
Now, and you know what? Guess what? It frees us all.
Yes, I feel free. I feel more liberated. I worked through that, but I didn't realize there was still some stuff there.
Yeah, because those tears just cleanse it out. And that was somebody else said tears are cleansing.
Yes, I didn't even know. Thank you, y'all, because I didn't even realize it was still there.
Yeah, Lisa, maybe it was that last piece of cleansing that needed to take place. You know? and today was the day. So again, I so am honored that you came on
That's
the show and
amazing.
that you
Thank
agreed,
you.
and it was good to have you. Thank you so much.
You see, this is your piece.
Yes, that is my ring.
Yeah,
That is green fluorite and
I
sterling.
love it. This is my favorite ring from Corinthia.
It looks beautiful on you. And I want
Thank
everybody
you.
to know that this is extended content because during the jewelry, even at the meeting around jewelry, I am always having deep and beautiful conversations with women. So this is just extended content of what what it seems that spirit always have me doing with women around jewelry is having these great conversations. So this is nothing new, just extended version.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So again, Lisa, thank you so much.
You're welcome,
Hang
Queen.
out in the
You're
back
welcome.
before you leave, okay?
Okay. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening.
So, Power in My Pivot is a live broadcast happening every single Saturday. You are welcome to join us. Next week, we will discuss how allowing is a power move and how being ready versus getting ready is a power play. Saturday, October 24th is when you can join us always at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, and 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Hey, we are amazing beings. You are an amazing being. And never, ever, ever should you dim your light in order for others to feel good. According to Nelson Mandela, let's power in our pivot. Let's go from basic to bona fide, baby, because there is power in my pivots and there's power in your pivot. See you next week.